All right, thank you very much. If there's anyone in the audience who is looking to invest, just give us a wave. This conversation is for you. This conversation is for you. Okay. So we are excited to have three amazing professionals in our real estate market upstage with us. They have different journeys, different stories. Two of them came from the diaspora. I know their stories very well. And here they are today making an impact, not just in Ghana, but across Africa as well. And so, in 30 seconds, just a brief of what exactly you do. Let me start from the lady. Dianne, over to you in 30 seconds.
Good afternoon, and I'm sure you guys are having a good time. My name is Dianne Latte, and I'm the founder of Realtor Dianne
Hold
and
on. Can you
Spring
hear her?
Properties. Hi, good afternoon. I'm sure you're having a good time. My name is Dianne Makafui Latte, and I'm Realtor Dianne, the founder of Spring Properties. What I do basically is to help individuals like you through the home ownership process, step by step, with clarity and confidence.
Oh, I thought you put your hands together for Dianne. All right, let's hear from Trevor.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. And thank you so much to the Ghana Property Expo, Anna and Victoria, for having us here. I really appreciate it. And good evening, everyone. My name is Trevor Tackie. I'm one of the co-founders of Traveling Properties in the UK and also Traveling Ghana. And what we do is that we're real estate brokers, both in the UK and also in Ghana. And just like AJ said, it's all about crossing and bridging. And we're looking to assist those who are looking to purchase from the diaspora in Ghana and have a safe landing. So that's what we do. Thank you.
Excellent. Round of applause. We'll hear from Michael.
Good evening. Firstly, I want to acknowledge my wife. She's turned 40 last week. And that's my currency. So I'm Jacob West. I'm Michael Kayensu, sometimes known as Jacob. But we are Jacob West. We are the new Africa that already exists. And we're here to build what you imagine.
Excellent. Put your hands together. So let's get into the conversation, how to navigate the Ghanaian property market. So let's start from inception. I mean, let's assume I'm a first-time home buyer. I live in the UK, US, Canada, wherever. I really want to invest in Ghana. Dianne, take us through the steps that I should follow so that I don't land in trouble.
Great. So, first of all, I'll say that you need to define your purpose. You need to know whether you're buying for investment purposes or you're buying to live in yourself. Once you know this, you will definitely be choosing the right property. Secondly, you need to be able to know your budget. It's very important before you walk onto the market, you know how much you can afford, you know your capacity, so that you don't go looking at the wrong thing. Thirdly, location over everything. Some people just see some fancy properties and they are looking to do an Airbnb, and the property is somewhere you know very well wouldn't yield you the rental that you're looking at. So you need to make sure that you're choosing the right location. Then, fourthly, due diligence. When you find the right property, work with professionals. They know what is really going on ground. You need to check the ownership of the property or the ownership of the land, work with a legal team to be able to ascertain the true ownership of the land before you put any money into it. And I'd want to say this, you shouldn't be so emotional or rush when it's time to buy a property. Some people see something and they're like, oh, wow, it's so nice. And then you're in a hurry, you want to sign up because you think that if you don't sign up for that property, somebody is going to take it. You do not have to rush, because trust me, there's something for everybody. So you should be able to do that due diligence. Now, when it comes to negotiation, it's good to work with a professional broker. They know the value of properties in certain areas. If you're not privy to it, you may just think that, okay, this property is $200,000. You haven't done your market research. You don't know how much properties actually cost in that area. And before you know it, somebody has marked up and is making money off you. So you need to make sure that you get a proper broker or proper agent who's negotiating on your behalf, having your best interest at heart. Now, after all of this, you've gotten the property, you're holding it. Probably you're not in the country, or even you're in the country, but you do not have time. You need professional property management. You need to make sure that the value of your property will continue to appreciate. If you buy a property and it's not managed properly, trust me, over time, you would not be able to even flip that property. So you need to make sure that you have somebody who's properly managing the property for you, so that if it's an investment property, you're making the best rental yield from the property. So basically, I'll say these are the steps when it comes to home ownership in Ghana. These are the basic steps. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Trevor. Trevor, you are a broker. You've been doing this across the UK, doing this in Ghana as well. And I always say to people that I believe that property brokers are the first point of contact when you are thinking of investing. Now, Trevor, what value do you bring to the transaction as a property broker? And why should people make sure they contact you and they don't skip that process?
Wow, thank you. Very, very good question. Why should they come to us? Number one, experience. Having been in the property industry for over 23 years, it's given me the highs and the lows of real estate, dealing with clients. And of course, what Dianne said, which is one of the main things, is understanding where you want to buy, understanding the locations, understanding what you can afford and what your budgets are. And these are the things that we do as a basic process for that individual, that person is looking to purchase. So with that experience, we're able to identify, number one, your budget. Number two, your location. Number three, what is it actually you're going to be using that property for? That determines why you are buying. So what your motivation really is. And so these are the key things I think we look to do. And that's the reason why I wouldn't say to you to skip. Some people may see a property, maybe in a Brie, a huge property, and be moved by emotions because they've always dreamt about a home in a Brie with lush greens and so forth, but then turn around and say, I'm not really going to be around for that long. I'm only going to be there maybe a month or two of the whole 12 months of the year. It's not really an investment. So you need to look at those kind of things and be like, okay, I understand that's where you'd like to be. I understand that's what you like. But if you're telling me that you're looking for a property to invest in, then you got to look for more central locations, something that's going to help you in the short term, medium and long term, and be able to give you the returns that we've discussed. That's what we'll say.
Excellent. Thank you. Now let me move on to Michael. Now you are a developer doing amazing projects in the country, and in your experience and being in Ghana for as long as you've been, you definitely would have seen some sort of errors when it comes to construction in our market. Now, why should people work with trusted developers like yourself? Because I know one thing about the diaspora, everything they see online looks exciting. And you and I know when it comes to real estate in Ghana, I always tell people, don't be moved by property brochures, because sometimes it's just like what you see. What you order may not be what you may get when it's delivered. So, Michael, speak to our potential investors when it comes to the real estate market in Ghana and why they must work with trusted developers like yourself.
Well, the construction process is very challenging. We deal with so many different aspects of it in terms of the land, litigation, acquisition process, locations in terms of you're on a hill, on your flat land, wet land. There's so many reasons why developing or building yourself is quite a challenge. So my advice is usually, speak to the specialists in various areas of development. We have the architectural designs, we have the structural engineering, we have the quantity of the build. I mean, how often do we get our drawings and then we just start building and we don't know how much it's going to cost us, how many years it's going to take? Is it worth us going into, traveling in and out of the country every year? How much does that cost? So there's so many details that go into development that I would advise people to actually leave it alone and let the experts do that side of the process. You know, we're currently building in North Legon, and it's 16 units, and you would never believe the details that goes into it. You know, you have your drawings, you have your structural drawings, and you think you go ahead, but there's some details missing between the two, and you need to be able to understand every stage of construction. So believe me, it sounds fantastic. I buy my land, I build my dream home, I come home and I live in this fantastic house. But let's look at the reality of it. Many of us do not build in the diaspora. You know, we don't build in the diaspora. We usually go for finance, mortgages, we buy houses. So why suddenly do we come to Ghana and we buy land and we start building? So for me, I'm always against the whole process of buying land and building. I've preached it before, and I don't want to upset anyone today, but I believe you leave it to the experts.
Excellent advice. Round of applause, round of applause. I can see your wife clapping. Truly, she's your currency. All right, so now let's move on. Everybody gets excited about investing in Ghana, but I always tell people that if you want to enjoy your investment returns, one thing about Ghana is that we are so excited about building, but when it comes to management, there's a mismatch. We are not very good at managing properties, but we are always excited about building. Dianne, talk us through the reason and the importance of having a property manager, because without them, those investment returns promised in the property brochure may not come to pass. Over to you.
Thank you, Eddie. So, property management is mainly about structure. You may buy a property for investment purposes and you do not have time. You may have family members, but you don't have time. And so if you give it to people that are not professionals, they don't know, especially one, how to take care of the property and ensure that small cracks don't turn into huge expenses. So first of all, I'll just give you the things that go into property management. One is tenant screening. It's not just anybody you want to allow into your property. You need to make sure that you do your KYC, your due diligence, and know who it is that is taking possession of your property. You want to make sure that these are people that would take it like their own and actually take care of it. Two, you have guest experience if you're doing Airbnb. Right now, the short-term market or Airbnb is mainly about guest experience. You see the reviews flying up and down. You need to make sure that you have a professional team that has customer experience at heart and is giving your guests the best experience ever. When that happens, you have them returning to the property day in, day out. They're giving referrals, and then you realize that your property is actually doing very well on the market. Another thing with property management is leasing. And when it comes to rental agreement, tenancy agreements, you have some people that put one or two together, go on ChatGTP and, come up with a tenancy agreement. Trust me, when there's an issue, you would realize that the agreement that you signed with the tenant is actually not a valid one or doesn't protect the interest of the owner of the property. So, tenant screening, guest experience, facility management is also something that falls under property management. You want to make sure that the paintings are done regularly, the maintenance is done regularly, and not more of a reactive maintenance, but a preventive maintenance. So you're not just checking the taps or the electricity when it's broken down, but regularly you're maintaining your AC, you're fumigating, you're checking cabinetry, you're doing touch-up painting and all of that. The last thing I'll add when it comes to property management is people think that furnishing is equal to decorating. Furnishing is not decorating. You can buy a sofa that doesn't even fit the space. And people go like, oh, I have everything. Then they want you to manage for them Airbnb. It doesn't meet the standard. So today I want us to know that furnishing is not equal to decorating. So get a professional interior decorator that will come and decorate the space fit for standard and fit for purpose. So when professional pictures are taken, it's appealing to the eye and it's inviting for you to get the best rental yields. Eddie, let me add one last thing. When it comes to property management, there are peak seasons and off-peak seasons for those who do short lets. It's good to know the peak seasons like December and off-peak seasons, and there comes our pricing strategy. If you don't have a professional property manager, you realize that somebody pegs their home at $200 per night all through the year. Your property will be empty. You need to be able to price that 200 maybe in December, and when it's off-peak season, you do about $90 per night to be able to get a higher occupancy as compared to keeping the price flat all year round. So this is why you need to get a professional property manager.
Excellent. Thank you so much. A lot of nuggets and wisdom shared. Moving on to Trevor. Now, Trevor, one thing about people in the diaspora, and I always say it, not everybody can afford Prime Accra. Now, Prime Accra is simply Cantonment, Laboni, Airport Residential. The new Prime Accra is Chado, East Airport. Those areas have opened up already. Now, somebody may be looking to invest in Ghana today, but Prime Accra may be out of their budget. In your experience in our market, what are the top 5 hotspots or areas to consider, but are not necessarily Prime Accra, but are also worth investing because they will become the next big thing? So your top 5, let's hear it.
Wow, this is... My colleagues on the platform are telling me to say North Legon. So, just for the record, North Legon. Jacob West. To be honest with you, I think we've got to look at the main corridors of where development is happening. And that means we're looking at Adenta Dodo Road is one of the main corridors that we look at. We also look at Kaswa, as in Bawe, all the way to Cape Coast, that sort of road. These are roads. You also got to look at Accra to Tema, Pram. These are also some main locations that you need to look at. So those are the kind of areas I'll say to you to consider looking at. East Legon Hills is a very good area to consider. I mean, Eddie, you've spoken about that before. Oyarifa, Ayumensa, going towards Eastern Region, those sort of locations. Wherever you got good road networks, good locations, good transport links, these are the areas that you want to look at and open up to it. There are caveats to this. For example, in East Legon Hills, very beautiful homes are being built, but then there's issues with people building on the drainage areas, waterways, and so forth. So these are the kind of things that I think with planning, permissions, and things like that going forward, it would really help to stabilize the market over those kind of things. But these are some really key areas. Adenta is a really good area as well, not too far from East Legon, not too far from Central, all within a close proximity. And of course, North Legon as well. Okay, so that's all.
Wonderful, thank you. I hope you are taking notes. And so, final question from Michael, and then we open up for the Q&As. Now, I'm taking it back to construction because that's your field, and you guys are doing some amazing work in that regard. So now let's wrap up with construction. Now, you finish the project, okay? What sort of warranty periods exist for people? Because a lot of people just get excited about building. But I want you to talk about 3 things. Number 1, warranty periods, and also what sort of after purchase documentation is required and what cost comes with it. So example, people buy properties and then when they are done, they think that's all, they are done paying. But there are other costs they may have to bear for them to actually own the property. So if you can walk them through these stages and these steps, I think it will be very beneficial to our participants today. So over to you, Michael.
Okay, there's a lot of questions there, but I'll try to answer. Prior to that, let's look at how you can acquire the property. We have cultural differences. We have people that buy in cash in Ghana. And when you're living outside, you're used to credit facilities. Now, I truly believe there's a missing gap between the two, and we need to bridge that gap. The mortgage companies are quite quiet here in terms of the products and services that we have in the mortgage field. In the UK, some years ago, we had a product called the Mortgage Brain. And the Mortgage Brain gives you an idea of what you qualify to obtain a mortgage to purchase. And I think in Ghana, we have one side where people are looking to pay with cash, and the other side, people are looking for mortgages. And I think if the mortgage companies can bridge that gap by having a product that is short term, 5 years, get you on a property ladder, that would help people to acquire properties. Now, to get to some of your questions, you have a construction warranty, the integrity of the building, your foundations, your roof, etc. Now, usually you're looking for a 10-year period for that. Then you have a separate warranty for the goods, and that's kind of carried on from the way you purchased the goods. So if you buy a Sony TV or washing machine, there's a warranty that covers you for a certain period. So that's forwarded on to the purchaser. So these are the kind of things you need to look out for. When you complete construction or handover, there is a snagging period. And that snagging period gives the buyer an idea to say to the developer, there's an issue with my flow of water. There's an issue with dampness. There's an issue with, and within that period, the developer within the year has to repair those snags. So these are the kind of things we should look out for. But I do strongly believe that we need to kind of fix the purchasing process. That will help the market accelerate, and it will help us to move the middle market to the higher market. So there's a lot for us to do in terms of that before we can actually think of how people are actually buying in Ghana.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we're wrapping up. In one sentence, what advice will you give to a first-time investor in the real estate market in Ghana now that they've been able to navigate their way through the process? In one sentence. So let me start from Michael. I'll come to Trevor and Dianne.
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
One sentence,
yeah.
Advice for a first-time investor.
Don't buy with emotions.
You like that one? Don't buy with emotions. Thank you. Over to you, Trevor.
Contact Traveling, Ghana.
Over to you, Dianne.
Whether you're buying, you're building, or you're renting, you need a winning formula. And I'll give you the winning formula. You need a clear purpose. You need to do your due diligence. And you need professional management. And when all these three things align, I can assure you that Ghana will become an opportunity for you and not a risk.
Wonderful. Thank you. Put your hands together for my panelists. Before they go, we allow for 2 questions. If you have any questions, give me a wave. I'll come down to you. Any questions? Okay. I can see a lady with a question, so I'm coming to you. So you let us know your name, and then you can direct your question to anybody, or you can ask a general question. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Daisy Emma, and my question is directed to Sir Michael. Yeah, Michael. So Michael. Sorry. Yeah. So I wanted to ask how we kind of like are aware of smart buildings or green building. Is that something that is happening in Ghana? Yes, that's what I wanted to ask.
Sorry, can you answer?
I wanted to ask how we are aware of smart building or green building in Ghana and how affordable it would be to us Ghanaians, because I know we are, trying to sell Ghana as some place that is good and as equal to, let's say, diaspora countries and all of that. So are we working on that? That's my question. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello. Yes. Thank you for the question. Very good question. Actually, these are the things that we consider in our builds. We have smart options as add-on options on our builds. Smart, making it easy for people to, automation in terms of your audio, your lighting systems, EV charge points. These are add-ons. You see, the market's not fully developed in that area, so we allow people to add on these services when we're building at an early stage. Solar power panels, EV charge points, smart home features. So what was the other question?
Green building.
Green building is similar. We have systems where we have biodigesters for waste. We have solar. there are a number of things that people are trying to do, but what we have to understand is there's a culture here in Ghana that we need to be careful we don't go fully green until people understand what green means to the environment. And then we need to build ourselves and educate people, talk more about it, advertise it more, and then it would shift and it change, and then people will buy into the ideas of being high tech and being sustainable.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was a good question. We'll take one more question and we can wrap up the panel. Any other question? Any other question for any of my panelists? Dianne, Trevor, or Michael? You have a question? Okay.
Hi, my name is Josephine, and I have a general question. So, with the rise of new developments, is there any concern regarding preservation of land, specifically in the Accra area? I know that Kaswa and Aburi and further out, there's more new developments. Do you think there's any moral compass with developers about preserving, Ghana's greenery and not going to that dystopian metropolis, angle? Yeah.
That's a good question. Who's taking it, Trevor?
Okay,
Let's go.
I'll take the question, and then hopefully my colleagues will be able to jump in at some point. No, it's a very good question, I'll say, because Accra has been known now to be a concrete jungle. We're supposed to have parks. There's questions about whether there is town and country planning in Ghana. And the truth of the matter is there is actually town and country planning. However, it's not enforced in the way that it should be, allowing green spaces, allowing people to be able to develop and, of course, have trees being planted and a lot more green. For example, we have a development that will be coming up in 2026 in a very prime location, and that we're going to be planning to make that at least 40% greenery. So there are some developers that will start to look into this, and obviously I think your friend next to you or your colleague next to you mentioned about sustainability and things like that. These are very, very key and very prominent questions. And I think as we move and expand outside of Accra, and I know that you guys are talking about Accra Central, but Accra now has been developed. So it's very, very difficult and very challenging for those who are coming. Most developers now are pretty much going to be looking at old houses to knock them down and then put up skyscrapers and so forth, because that's what's available and that's what's easier. But as Accra expands and goes a bit further out and so forth, you're going to see a lot more people planning with purpose, meaning that it's going to be more greens, more trees and so forth. So fingers crossed, the build quality and moving forward, if things should change, especially with the developers, right, Michael?
Yeah, Jacob West is doing that.
Jacob West is doing that.
Of course, of course, of course. And I think that trend is even evident because the further you go from what we call prime Accra, you begin to see more communities, gated communities with a lot of landscape. I mean, there's projects like Special Gardens or Yarifa Park, Ayimensa Park. I saw Kofi Anku here earlier today, and they've done well to make sure that as part of their development, there are green spaces. Like I always tell people, even kids need places to play. It's not all pavement blocks, and now they even tile the compounds, and everything is tiled and everything is paved. We need to have green spaces. So thank you so much for your questions. Any other questions? One more question? Okay, let's take one more question and we can wrap up the panel. Thank you.
I just feel that with the amount of sunlight that we get in Ghana, the response about being green is a bit of a cop-out. I think this should be one of your main focuses when you come to building, regardless whether it's in Accra or elsewhere. The sunshine is there. I'm sure if you're building at scale, you could find manageable ways or cost-effective ways of putting in those solar systems. It's just a no-brainer. Thank you.
I mean, that's a good point. Michael, you want to speak to it? Because forget about even construction and real estate. Even traffic lights in Accra can go off. And I always wonder why. Because the sun is there 24/7 and these traffic lights should be running on solar. True or false? All right, Michael, speak to construction.
Hello. Yeah. Hello. Yes. I mean, one of the things we have to be very careful of is that we don't emotionally go into construction in Ghana. Going green is fantastic, but we have to understand that those that are inserting the green are not actually educated about it. So it takes time for us to go completely green, completely solar. We spoke about maintenance before. It's fantastic to put green in, solar in, but who's maintaining it? Do they understand how to maintain these things? And how much does it cost? Are we importing these items? So we have to be very careful when we're doing development in Ghana. I came with the idea of changing it completely. It should be like UK. In the UK, we do it this way. In the US, we do it this way. But this is Ghana, and there's certain things that we need to take baby steps to make a change. And if we don't make those baby steps, we will fall flat on our heads. So I get it. Solar is the future, but we need to take the right steps to get there so people understand the maintenance of it. So that's my only contribution to that point. We don't do things too fast in Ghana.
Ghana, if you move very fast, you'll crash.
Slowly.
Yeah, our system is not like that.
Slowly. You
We'll
come
get
in
there,
and
we'll
you
get
want
there.
You want it to be like how you come from, but it's actually understanding how we do things and taking the right steps at the right time.
Thanks, Michael. Back to your question, I think what you raise is a very important and valid question in regards to environmentally friendly solar panels and so forth. I think we had Pamela that spoke earlier on about people being unqualified to do things. So number one, to be able to import most of the solar panels and solar systems over to Ghana, you're going to need qualified individuals to be able to do it. And those that are qualified will, number one, be pricing out of the market because they know they're specialists, unless they train other people. Now, in Ghana, based on maintenance alone, and based on just driving around Accra alone, you will see walls that are up and have damp growing on them. Now, it's not as though they haven't been building walls for the last 60 years or so. Still, walls are being built right now are still having rising damp. So there are certain things that it can, on the offset, look very simple to implement. But having people qualified to implement those things, to maintain it, and to make sure that it's doing the right thing is very, very challenging. And I think once we get to a position where people are aware, where people are well informed and are qualified to do those things, it will make things a lot easier and also a lot cheaper to be able to implement those things. So yeah, it just takes a bit more time in Ghana. I mean, all of us here would wish to make things so much more easier. And like Dianne said, just maintenance alone, carpentry, painting, make sure things fit in place and all that kind of stuff. It can be very challenging.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think we can do a big round of applause for my panelists. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Dianne. As tradition demands, we'll rise for a group picture. Then we get ready for the next conversation, which is on diaspora mortgages and financing. And then we call it a day. Thank you.